The light filtered in through 12-foot windows, gold and sterile. It caught the surface of the marble counters like it was refracting through ice. Ira stood barefoot in the kitchen, stirring eggs with one hand and pouring warm milk into the twin sippy cups with the other. She hadn't brushed her hair yet. Her robe was cinched too tightly over pajamas that didn't match. Still, her face had that soft, hushed fatigue only a mother of 4-year-olds could wear, blurred around the edges, like a page read too many times. "Eli," she said without raising her voice, "get your feet off the table." Her son grinned over a piece of toast bigger than his face. His twin sister, Amelia, was humming to herself and peeling a banana like it was a delicate scientific procedure. Neither of them seemed to notice how quiet the house was, how empty. The clock read 7:26 a.m. Kian would be down any minute. Or not. She moved through the space with the quiet choreography of someone who had done this 1,000 mornings before. Eggs onto plates, toast sliced diagonally, napkins folded, juice poured. The help didn't arrive until 9. By then, she liked to have the twins fed, changed, and ready. She didn't like people seeing her half undone. Her own plate sat untouched. She glanced at it once, then looked away. Her hand passed over Kian's espresso machine without touching it. She used to make his coffee every morning. Now, he had a stainless steel machine with 5 custom settings and didn't like anyone else touching it. Just then, Eli dropped a spoon onto the floor with a loud clang. "Oops," he shouted, laughing. 5-second rule, Amelia whispered, already reaching for it. Era bent down and picked up the spoon, rubbing it under hot water longer than necessary. When she straightened up, her eyes drifted toward the hallway, expecting to hear the sound of Kian's steps, the familiar shift of his leather shoes on wood. Nothing. She glanced at her reflection in the microwave door. Dark circles under her eyes, lips slightly chapped, a faint burn on her collarbone from the curling iron she'd given up on. She'd tried once, a little mascara, a tight dress, a planned night out, but Kian had rescheduled for a late client meeting. That had been 4 months ago. Her gaze fell to the clock again, 7:41. She turned back toward the eggs, and a smell hit her, sweetness and salt, butter melting on syrup-drizzled waffles. Her breath caught. The memory hit her fast and uninvited. 3 years ago, she was still breastfeeding when she burned the waffles. Smoke was rising from the pan, and she was about to cry when Kian came in. "Are you trying to assassinate me with char?" She threw a spatula at him. He caught it with one hand and swept her off her feet with the other, lifting her off the floor. She shrieked and laughed and hit his shoulder. "You smell like syrup and soap," she mumbled into his neck. "I smell like a husband with 5 hours of sleep and twins who think night is optional," he murmured. "But I'll always make time to kiss the woman who made me a dad." He kissed her then, long, slow, like they had nowhere to be. She remembered how he looked at her, like she was some beautiful, holy accident. Ira blinked. The smell was gone. She was back in the kitchen, holding a towel too tightly in one hand, the other trembling just slightly. No footsteps, no leather shoes, no husband. She glanced at her phone. A single text, Kian. "Early call, won't be down, see you tonight, X." She read it twice, then deleted it. The polished floor of the upper-level executive wing glinted like a mirror, reflecting the sharp heel clicks of staff moving quickly but quietly, like they were afraid to be noticed. At the far end, behind a smoked glass door etched with the company name in chrome script, Lancer Global, Kian sat at his desk in a navy suit that looked custom-made because it was. His tie was slightly loosened, sleeves rolled just enough to show a Rolex and forearm veins, as if the casualness was accidental. It wasn't. He leaned back, phone pressed to his ear. The view behind him showed the full sprawl of Virelia City, towers of glass and LED. "Tell marketing to pull back on the second teaser," he said, voice low and flat. "If the servers can't hold the traffic spike, we're not just losing users, we're inviting humiliation." A light knock on the glass. Celine stepped in. She didn't wait for permission. "Not interrupting, am I?" Her voice was smooth, the tone reserved, but with an undertow of playfulness. She was wearing a storm gray pencil skirt and a silk blouse tucked just loosely enough. Her makeup was clean and sharp. Her hair, a waterfall of chestnut waves, fell over one shoulder with the kind of effortless calculation that didn't exist in nature. Kian glanced up, still on the phone, and gave her a 2-finger wave toward the guest chair. She sat. "Reschedule for Friday," he said, then clicked the phone off. "I brought the Singapore projections," Celine said, setting a black leather folder on the desk. "Also, a peace offering." From the folder, she withdrew a small paper bag and placed it in front of him. He opened it, brows raised. His favorite chocolate-covered almonds. "You remembered. I listen." She leaned forward just a little too far to be formal, her hand resting on the edge of his desk. Close but not touching. She wore a faint perfume, expensive, feminine, distracting. "You seemed stressed," she said, tone low. I thought you deserved something sweet. Kian gave a dry chuckle. You're trying to bribe me? Of course, she said, sitting back, legs crossing with graceful slowness. I want the Chung meeting moved to next week. I have a rooftop event tomorrow night, executives only. Low pressure, just drinks, skyline views, and a very expensive wine list. Kian watched her for a beat too long before answering. I'll think about it. She smiled. That's all I ask. At home, Era stood in front of the full-length mirror in the closet she rarely entered these days. The dress was pale blue with thin straps, fitted at the waist, and long enough to trail slightly behind her. It had dust on the hem. She remembered the last time she wore it, 3 years ago, on their anniversary, when they had gone to that rooftop Italian place, and Kian held her hand through dessert. She had been thinner then, less tired. She curled her hair, applied mascara, a little blush, a soft pink lipstick that was probably expired. Downstairs, she checked on the twins, both asleep. The nanny had gone home. The dining room table was set with quiet hope. Steak reheated, wine uncorked, jazz playing from the speakers at a low volume. She heard the gate open at 9:17 p.m. Her stomach fluttered. Footsteps, door unlocking. Kian stepped in with his phone still in hand. His tie was gone. His shirt sleeves were wrinkled at the elbows. He looked up from his screen. Hey, Era smiled faintly. You're home? He glanced at the table. You made steak? Her voice hesitated. It's the one you like. With rosemary? Shit, I'm sorry. I ate at the office. Celine, some of the execs ordered in. I didn't know. He trailed off. Ira stood in silence. He looked at her properly then. A second passed. You look nice. Thank you. I've got an early one tomorrow. Might need to head back into the office late. There's a client dinner thing. He was already walking past her toward the stairs. She didn't move. The silence clung to her as she sat at the table alone, swirling wine she no longer wanted. Flashback. 8 years ago. The room was tiny. Their first apartment. The kitchen counter doubled as their dining table. Ira was 18, barefoot, sitting on the counter, swinging her legs. Kian held a laptop open on his lap. Her first game design, just a rough prototype, filled the screen. Sprites clunky, sound effects stolen from free libraries. She watched him anxiously as he played. At the end, he looked up at her with a grin like she had handed him a masterpiece. You made this? She blushed. It's buggy. The AI's dumb. I still can't get the tile set to. You're a genius. He stood up, cupped her face, and kissed her with one hand on her cheek and the other on the nape of her neck. I'm gonna build you a whole company one day, he whispered, and you'll run it. He held up the laptop. This is how we're gonna raise our kids? She laughed. What kids? He leaned his forehead against hers. The twins. Girl first, then boy, you'll see. Back to present. In the upstairs bathroom, Era stood at the sink, wiping her makeup off with slow, tired strokes. Her dress was already wrinkled from sitting. In the hallway mirror, she caught a glimpse of herself, and for a second, she didn't recognize the woman looking back. That's when Amelia padded out in her unicorn pajamas, toothbrush in hand. Mommy? Era knelt. Yeah, sweetheart? Why don't you smile like before? Era's breath caught in her throat. She reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her daughter's ear. I'm just tired, baby. Amelia nodded seriously, as if that explained everything. Era kissed her forehead and watched her shuffle off to bed. Her phone buzzed. Kian, going to be late. Don't wait up. Era stared at the message. Then slowly, quietly, she put the phone face down and turned off the lights.